Long-term travel is different than just going away on a vacation for a few weeks, and so the planning that you need to do for a long trip takes a bit more effort. When you're going traveling for months at a time, you need to think about all the regular things that you would normally take care of when you're at home, like paying bills and watering your plants, and also how you're going to pack and prepare for living out of a backpack or suitcase for a long time, potentially over different seasons. We're about to leave on our next trip, and this time we'll be traveling through North, Central, and South America for over 4 months. These are some of the things we do to prepare for a long trip before we even start packing.
Number 1. Check on bills that might be due.
Credit cards are due regularly and pretty easy to pay when you're using online banking. But also consider yearly bills that might come due while you're away. For us on this trip, this means our home insurance, home tax declarations, and even our personal income tax in April. Though we can't file these before we leave, we can make sure we have access to the info we need to file while we're traveling.
Number 2. Get someone reliable to check on your place.
For us, we have someone who comes in regularly to water our plants, take in our mail, and just do a quick tour around our apartment to make sure everything looks okay. We've also notified our insurance company that we'll be away and that we have someone watching over our place.
Number 3. Figure out your cell phone plan.
We don't like to use our Canadian cell phones when we're traveling long-term outside the country, as that can get super expensive very quickly. So before we leave on our trip, I always look up the different mobile plan providers and try and figure out the carrier and the plan that will work best for us, along with where we can buy the plan. If we can get a SIM card at the airport with the carrier we want, that usually works best. eSIMs that you can purchase online before you leave are another option, but we haven't been able to get that to work for us yet, so we're still using physical SIMs. As a side note on this, banking apps and other secure sites often rely on two-factor authentication, where they send your cell number a text with a number that you need to enter on the site or the app to log in. If you're not going to have access to these texts while you're traveling, make sure you've gone onto the site to look for other options to verify your identity while you're abroad. These options are either through email or a separate authentication app.
Number 4. Learn a bit of the language.
If you're going to a non-English speaking country, especially if you're traveling to smaller towns, try to learn a few basic phrases before you go, like hello and where's the bathroom. We also install a translator app on our phone with the language downloaded so we can use it even without internet access. This comes in handy if you're at a restaurant with no English menus, or at places like bus depots when you're trying to buy a ticket or board the correct bus.
Number 5. Get some of the local currency before you leave.
We don't like to carry too much cash on us, and instead we rely on getting small amounts of money from ATMs as we go, assuming they're available. But we always like to have a bit of cash in the local currency available when we land. It's helpful for paying for buses or taxis when we're leaving the airport, or anything we want to pick up before we figure out where the ATMs are.
And speaking of ATMs, check your PIN code requirements.
In some countries, the PIN codes accepted by the ATMs may be different from what you have. For example, some people have a 6-digit PIN, but in some countries, the ATMs will only accept a 4-digit PIN. So make sure you check your PIN requirements before you leave to make sure that you can withdraw money. And also make sure you're using a card that's on a network supported by the country you're visiting.
Number 7, check your gear.
We don't like to buy a lot of new stuff for our trips, but sometimes it's inevitable. On this particular trip, we know we're going to be doing a lot of multi-day hikes, and our current trail runners are on their last treads. So we're picking up some new Gore-Tex trail runners before we leave. Also, review your packing list and make sure you're not running low on any consumables that you might want to bring with you, like soap and batteries.
Number 8, go to the doctor and check your prescriptions.
Depending on where you're traveling, you might need some updated shots and medications. It's always good to let your doctor know where you'll be traveling so they can make appropriate recommendations. And because sometimes vaccines take a while to kick in, it's best to let your doctor know several months in advance. If you're taking prescription medication, you may also need to fill more of your prescription than you're used to. If you're traveling for 4 months, then you're going to need at least that, plus some backup meds. And always make sure that the meds you're taking are well labeled and are legal in the country you're going to be traveling to, in the dosages that you're carrying. Just because a medication is legal in Canada or the US doesn't mean it's going to be legal where you're going.
Number 9, plan your trip from the airport to your accommodation.
It's fun and exciting to plan out all the trips and excursions you're going to do in a particular place, but don't forget to look at how you're going to get from the airport to your accommodation on the first day. Airport Wi-Fi isn't always great, and you may not have a SIM card yet, so make sure you know how to navigate to your destination without the internet. Downloading Google Maps before you leave helps too. So making sure your bills can be paid, having someone reliable watch your place, figuring out a cell phone plan, learning the local language, getting local currency, doing an inventory of your gear, talking about your travel plans with your doctor, and planning your trip from the airport to your accommodation are some of the things we do to prepare for leaving home to travel the world for months at a time. Do you have anything you do to plan for long-term travel? Please let us know in the comments.